Jonathan over at American Off-Road. I'm going to do a walkthrough of this XJ that we just finished. From the outside, it actually doesn't look that much different than when it first came. A little taller than it was, but it had these wheels and tires, bumpers, fenders, roof rack, all that stuff was already on this Jeep, which is not why it came to us. When we first saw this Jeep, he wanted a little more torque out of it, so we re-geared the axles and took that, drove it for a little bit, didn't even finish the break-in, was like, okay, I'm ready to really go to town and get this thing fixed up. So we brought it back. There's a lot of rust damage on this thing, so we actually replaced the floorboards from the firewall all the way to the cargo on both sides inside the Jeep. We wrap-lined the entire floor on the inside. We've got new PRP seats to replace the factory front seats, floor mats on the inside. The interior is a lot more cleaned up. We added frame stiffeners on the both left and right side, all the way front to back, to give this unibody some more strength. And all that was there so that way we could put this Clayton long arm system under here and also convert the factory leaf spring setup to a coil spring. We upgraded the steering system on this to make it more stable, so there's less play there. We added some stiffening pieces, new links, new gearbox. We did some motor work to it. So I'll walk through and show you kind of all the specifics that we did. So we'll start under the hood. And really, this thing just needed some freshening up. So we just fixed the leaks. We did a coil pack conversion kit. So if you're familiar with this 4.0, there's a coil pack that runs along that sits on top of the spark plugs on this side. And we took that off and converted it to like what's on the 3.8 motors, which is this separate coil that sits off to the side and is a little more reliable than that one piece coil that's on top of there. We also upgraded the fuel rail with this anodized aluminum fuel rail over here. We changed the intake to this cowl induction system. And so what this does is it actually draws fresh air from this vent space up here, and it's a lot cooler air coming into the motor, which makes it more efficient, runs better, get a little more power out of it. And just went through and just made sure, you know, there's no leaks. So we resealed the valve cover, resealed the oil pan, you know, stuff like that, just to make sure it's running well and is reliable. So that's pretty much what we did under here. And so if you can kind of peek down in this hole here, you can see the new steering gear box that we put in here. This is a PSC steering gear in here. So it's bigger than the factory one. So it's gonna have a bigger sector shaft, which makes it stronger. It's gonna hold up against the stresses of bigger tires and off-roading better than the factory one would. And we also added a brace that goes between the rails, between the driver's side and the passenger side all the way across, and it ties into this sector shaft right here, so that it kind of grabs that and keeps it from moving, so it's even stronger with that cross brace under there as well. And so we have a Curry Y-Link steering system to upgrade the factory one. On the axle, we put a Barnes front truss to reinforce the housing, so that way, with the added stress of off-roading, there's less likelihood of this housing getting any sort of bends to it or anything like that. This Clayton kit comes with a weld-on track bar bracket, so that's a lot stronger than the factory one that's kind of stamped steel on there. So that makes that a lot stronger. And then we've got, you know, Bilstein shocks, we've got new brake lines, their coil spring, and you can kind of look in here, you can see this big panel that's been welded onto the side of the frame right here. This is that frame stiffener I was talking about. So this panel that's going all around through here, that's all steel that's been basically welded onto the factory unibody there to give it a lot more strength to it. And that continues all the way down here. And we actually welded these on, which makes these a lot stronger instead of being bolted on like they were before. You got the cross member skid plate here, protect the transmission and transfer case. We've got custom exhaust going through there to allow for space for this double triangulated rear suspension we have on here. This doesn't require a track bar and allows the rear axle to move back and forth without shifting side to side. So it's a lot more stable, gives it better off-road characteristics and better driving characteristics on the street also. You can kind of keep coming back with me here. You can see the rear axle. We put that Clayton truss over the rear axle, so that way it has a place to mount those upper control arms on there. Also add some strength to that rear axle as well. And if we keep coming back, you can see in here, this is where that rear frame reinforcement is, and then this coil bucket is not part of the original suspension, so that's something that comes with the Clayton kit and really makes this thing ride a lot better, a lot less stiff than the leaf springs would be. And that's pretty much the suspension portion of it. So inside, I'll give you a peek at what we did on the interior. So these are the PRP Enduro Crawl recliner seats. And these are, if you're not familiar with, these are build to order. So you can get these in whatever kind of stitch pattern you want, color scheme, all that stuff is kind of built into their price. And that's one of the benefits you get with their product, is a build to order to your specifications. You can see in the floor here, so we put these floor mats in just to clean it up a little bit, but all this floor panel, that's all brand new. So we had to cut all this out. You can kind of see right here some of the outlines. So the floor panel kind of went right through here, but there were still some rust pockets that we had to make patch panels for. And that is all sealed up with body sealant. The Raptor liner helped clean it up a little bit. And then you got your floor mat on here just to give it a little more creature comforts. Same thing in the back. So even with the floor liner in there, it really cleans this up really nicely. Nice and pretty much new. And you can see that floor panel all underneath there. And then same thing in the back. Nice clean cargo space. Raptor lined the whole back of this. Kept it nice and uniform, so the whole thing has a nice fit and finish to it. And that's pretty much everything we've done to this up to this point. I'm sure it's not the last thing we'll be doing. But yeah, so stay tuned. If this is something you like, just so you know, we do work on older Jeeps. We get that question sometimes, as well as the newer ones. I think 87 is kind of where we sort of draw a line, but it's not a hard line. So just, you know, let us know if there's something you want done. We can probably handle it for you.